for affordability and fairness as power demand surges. According to Spanberger, she wants to prevent stranded costs from falling on ordinary customers. However, critics warn her policies may be doing the exact opposite. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Sarah Montalbano, energy policy analyst from Always on Energy Research. Sarah, it's good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
But of course, thank you so much for joining us. Can you speak to how Virginia's reliance on imported electricity challenges Spanberger's Consumers First framework altogether?
Absolutely. Consumers First really means that you build your power at home. But Virginia's policies so far are just to mandate the expensive stuff within their borders and to then hope that neighbors will cover the gap. And what I mean by this is that, Virginia is importing roughly a third of its electricity, around 50 million megawatt hours a year. And it's not importing wind and solar, it's importing the reliable stuff, the coal, the gas, and nuclear power from its neighbors in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia across the PJM Interconnection. And you cannot credibly call yourself Consumers First when your policies retire your own reliable power and to just buy it from your neighbors. That's not a solution.
Yeah, Sarah, you made mention of neighbors, and we know that there happens to be growing backlash from neighboring states. What does this really mean for Spanberger's energy strategy overall?
That's a great question because Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia are done carrying Virginia. They're building the power, but Spanberger is mandating it away. And what's happening is that PJM, the grid operator across 13 states, they run an auction every year that pays power plants to be on call to generate. And right now there's a ceiling on that auction price. It can only go so high. And that keeps Virginia's costs from spiking, but it also spreads its costs across every state in that network. And so all of these ratepayers pay a part of Virginia's bill, and they're paying for its policy decisions. In March, groups from Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia filed at the federal regulator asking to end that arrangement. So Pennsylvania's own Democratic governor, Josh Shapiro, he called the current setup the largest unjust wealth transfer in the history of U.S. energy markets.
Yeah,
it's a big deal.
No, it's beyond a big deal. It's really interesting, and it's really affecting, residents throughout the state of Virginia. In this case, we know that a lot of folks don't get involved unless it hits them in the pocket. And speaking of that, data centers really shifting higher energy costs onto households. Well, that pushback could mean yet again YOU will pay more.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point, too, because data center growth is real. They are likely and probably going to be paying for the power that they use. I think a lot of data centers are on board with that. But Richmond is scapegoating that golden goose for Virginia. That's a huge industry in Virginia. And, honestly, I see it as a distraction from the policies that are actually raising your bill. And in a lot of cases here, the Thomas Jefferson Institute ran the numbers on this, and data centers really haven't been the main cost driver. Virginia's 2020 Clean Energy Law, the one that's forcing Dominion to build offshore wind and solar, pays fines, when it's missing renewable targets. It's adding about $24 a month, nearly $300 a year to the typical Dominion bill. Over half of that bill increase since 2020 is coming from Virginia's own mandates. And of course, Virginia is the data center capital of the world. It's a bipartisan design, and I think it's short-sighted to scapegoat the industry in the hopes that it'll lower your bill when really there's some low-hanging fruit here.
Yeah, I paid a visit to Ashburn and Loudoun County recently, and I couldn't go a mile without seeing a data center within the vicinity. Well, we'll end with this, and that is the rejoining the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. Now, some folks are in favor for it, but others say, you know what, this could really raise gas and utility bills. Yet again, a monetary issue.
Absolutely. RGGI is a pocketbook issue here, and it's really a $500 million a year tax on Virginians' electricity bills, full stop. And so all of this cost to Reggie is being passed on to ratepayer bills. Last time Virginia was in it, between 2021 and 2023, the state collected $828 million, and permit prices have already gone up about fourfold since then. So that is another policy lever that Spanberger has rejoined. She's decided to do this, and I don't think that is very consumer friendly.
Yeah, something yet again we will have to keep a very close eye on. We've been speaking with Sarah, energy policy analyst from Always on Energy Research, kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. I truly appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll take our first break, and we'll be right back.